Welcome to Stampscaping 101, another quick project here. The holidays are coming up and everyone gets busy, but if you're a stamper, card maker, you're a creative type, and it's good to have some projects that we can kind of do and, I don't know, just in a short amount of time to address that creative, I don't know, kind of spirit and energy. So we're going to do a quick project here on some wood grain paper. I have a 1-inch hole punch that I've punched out of this piece of copy paper, and I'm going to stamp this. I don't know what it is. It's either a sun or a moon. It can be read as either. All right. But what I'm using is white brilliance ink. You can try your other types of white pigment inks and see if they'll work, or whatever type of white ink you might have. You might have like a chalk ink or something like that. You can test it on this type of paper and see if it works. Mainly, you want to see if it dries on this type of paper and if it adheres to the paper, okay? Brilliance is a quick drying water-based pigment ink. A lot of pigment inks are oil-based, so you just have to test it out and see. This paper is not completely non-porous, but it's less porous than, say, something like a, cardstock, or, you know what I mean? Certainly a matte cardstock or something like that. Okay, now for my imagery, the thing that I found works really good is StazOn. All right, a lot of you have StazOn pads. The black brilliance works really good. My dye-based ink didn't work very well on it. If you want to go for kind of a lighter impression, then it certainly works. I mean, you can make impressions on it. It's just a matter of how dark that impression is. All right. So if you come up with a little bit more of a grayscale type of image, you can, you go with it. It just looks like some images farther off in the distance or something like that. Okay, we have the Mystic Trees right that I'm using here. I'll have it kind of going a little bit off the right side of the paper here. All right, now I'm going to try to do a fall type of color scheme in the tree section. We'll see if that works out, stamping it in black. A lot of times if I'm doing this in dye-based inks, I might add some color to the trees inherently instead of just stamping them black. But we're going to try it here just for the sake of, I don't know, expediency in creating that. Okay, now see, even with the StazOn, that's not completely black right there, but it's a pretty good impression. It's like a 85% gray, I would say. You can hold your stamp down longer on the paper. Maybe, some more of that ink would have transferred and dried. So sometimes you have to, like if you go with a really wet StazOn or something like that and you stamp it down, sometimes it takes a little bit longer to dry because it's in contact, okay? But what you do is you let it set up a little bit and transfer and adhere to that surface before you lift it. So don't make a super quick impression, but test out again, and see how long, what the ideal length of time when you're making contact would work out the best. Okay, let's go for one of the fishing boats here. I think this is fishing boat 2. And I'm putting this right here. It's just going to represent water, of course. Holding down a little bit, like that. It makes for a kind of an, I don't know, real tranquil, simple type of composition. And we're going to go for a quote stamp here. With the quotes, I really tap it around like this to make sure I'm getting an even coat of ink over the surface of my words. Letter forms, you really want a pretty uniform impression. With stamps designs, I mean, if it's a little bit lighter in one area than another, it's not really, any big deal. But with word stamps, quotes, it's a good idea to get it nice and even from left to right, top to bottom. Okay, so we have this in here, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a little bit of shading in here, okay? Now we can add in some foreground, but I think this looks pretty cool, just clean. Sometimes I'll add in more foreground around here, and I think that would look good too, but on this one I'm just going to keep it really simple. Okay, so like right around at the base of this, object in water, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add in some shading with a colored pencil. This is just the black Prismacolor. So this I'm kind of adding it at the base of the design, but I'm also going into the design a little bit from the bottom and creating a little bit of a darker shadow like that. And then I'm kind of tapering it a little bit. So you're going a little bit darker like that. And then you just go a little bit lighter as it moves away from the object. And then when you're going up, you're going a little bit darker. And then you go a little bit lighter like that. Okay. Up into these rocks. Okay. And you can add a little bit of shading within the rocks as well if you want to. And one of the things I did on the moon is I kind of made it a little bit more opaque up top, and I used a little bit less ink down below. One of those subtle little things. It looks good uniform too, but that's one of those little things that you can do that's pretty fun. It transitions it, so you have these little transitions in the shadows, and you have the transitions in the light like that too. You know, like I said, it looks good either way. Okay, orange paint pen. Let's give this a shot and add some of these little... Now, I'm not trying to, you know, color out my, I guess in this case, leaves up here in the tree. This is really like more of a pine tree, but, you know, with trees, you can kind of, take liberties with it. And, you know what I mean? With nature designs, oftentimes it comes down to kind of whatever you're coloring your objects with. Whatever you color them with, that defines kind of what they are. What time of year it is, season. Comes down to color value. Okay, now here's some of those orange tones up there, but what's fun is that you can kind of add these little orange little touches down here on your rocks and in the water. So it kind of represents where, the leaves are falling into the water. All right, now we've added the orange in here, and I'm going to layer with the yellows. So I'm working from a little bit darker to lighter, like that. And yellow stands out pretty strong, so I'll use a little bit less of this. Kind of spread it around a little bit. And kind of cluster in other areas. This yellow is going to look a little bit darker as it dries too, so it'll kind of integrate more with the background colors. And it looks, these paint pens tend to look a little bit more opaque when they're wet. I don't know why. And then as they dry, I don't know if it's because they're soaking into the paper or what. Okay, so we have our colors and a little bit of shadow in here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch up. I'm going to go with a lighter colored paint pen. It's kind of like a beige, but you can use a white. And I'm going to add in some kind of tones into my tree trunks here. Since I am going with a wood grain paper here, I'm starting off with a inherent tone. You know what I mean? Everything's all this color or darker, right? So you can go back and add your lighting or even lighter lights, you know. I mean, this isn't, you know, dark wood or anything like that, but this is where you can go in and add these little highlights, and they really stand out because it's kind of the lightest thing in the scene, okay? Now you have that sun or moon in there that's creating a source of light, and with these little highlights here, that's all reflected light on here. Let's put a little bit more right around on here, a little bit closer to that light source. And we can put a little bit of underneath that light source. I'll put a little bit of kind of sparkles on the water. That there's a little bit of shimmer going on right in there. Yeah, let's see. Let's highlight the top of this little fishing boat as well. So it creates kind of a certain atmosphere to this piece. And I think that looks pretty good there. So what are we at? We're at 12 minutes here. Not quite the 5-minute one, but we've added a lot of extra color in this one than my previous quick scene. But, you know, this is a pretty thin style of paper, so you get it matted off, you know. I like gold around this, and I think that would be perfect for this autumn piece right here. Let's see if I have a piece of gold here. I should always keep one handy so you can kind of get the gist of what that might look like. Kind of around on the perimeter like this. I put a little bit of a white border on that too, but look how kind of elegant that would look like that. You know, especially for a really quick and simple scene. You know, just a little colored pencil and some paint pen work, and you know, you turn your pine trees into some sort of deciduous tree, and do those little things like you know, like these little leaves in the water or something like that, and on the rocks like that. It's those little touches like that that I think, you know, really add kind of a nice, I don't know, whatever kind of finishing flavor to these quick scenes. And you know, to me, I don't know. I mean, it's a quick scene, but I don't think it's lacking for anything. It has light and shadow. In this one, it has reflections and light and reflected light, which makes for a kind of a fun, dynamic visual dialogue that's going on. You have something that's relating to something else. It's affecting this, you know. You get this white light right here, and it's reflecting that same type of light. Although that one's white and this one is a little bit beige, but you get the point right there. And then, you know, you have this little quote stamp here that's certainly related to, you know, the color scheme involved. Okay, hope you enjoyed this quick scene. You could use it as a little stamp along, but hope you enjoyed it, and thanks so much for watching.